And what did Tampa do when they lost Liam Cohen? You know what I don't like? They hired a guy who was in-house. Now the offense stinks. Baker didn't get worse. They added Imuka, the receiver from Ohio State. They should be a better offense. And Imuka, they should be a better offense.
This is the exact point I want to explore, because I need to understand a clear discrepancy in the collective football analysis. Why does Baker Mayfield consistently receive a significant benefit of the doubt that is almost never extended to Jalen Hurts? I want to understand why, when the Philadelphia Eagles offense stagnates or regresses, the default conclusion is that the problem resides squarely with Jalen Hurts. The narrative becomes that he isn't tall enough, isn't a dynamic enough playmaker, that his limitations are the anchor holding the team back. I need to know why this is the prevailing logic, especially when applied to a quarterback with a demonstrable, unique resume. This is a quarterback who has defeated every single elite quarterback currently active in the NFL. He has beaten Patrick Mahomes multiple times. In fact, and I know this sounds incredible, but I am not fabricating this, Jalen Hurts has defeated Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl. He is a Super Bowl MVP. He holds multiple Super Bowl records. This is verifiable, just look it up. He has participated in 2 Super Bowls, and in the one he lost, his team scored the most points of any losing side in Super Bowl history, with Hurts himself setting a record for rushing yards by a quarterback. His performance in that game was historically brilliant. He has also beaten Matthew Stafford in the playoffs. He has bested Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. He has accomplished this on the grandest stages. Yet, when the Eagles' offense encounters issues, despite the organization seemingly hiring a new offensive coordinator every other season, the immediate, reflexive focus zooms in on Jalen Hurts as the fundamental, irredeemable problem. Why does he receive none of the contextual leniency afforded to others? This double standard becomes even more pronounced when we listen to analysts discuss other quarterbacks. They readily label certain players as too coordinator dependent, acknowledging that their success is tethered to their system and play caller. To be fair, some have applied this to Baker Mayfield, stating he's not on Stafford's level and needs the right structure. But Jalen Hurts has beaten those quarterbacks. He has outperformed many of them in the most critical moments. Statistically and in terms of pure production on the biggest stage, Jalen Hurts' Super Bowl performances eclipse anything Matthew Stafford has produced in the postseason. This is a factual comparison, with both quarterbacks operating with talented rosters and strong defenses. Let's not pretend Stafford didn't have an elite supporting cast in Los Angeles or an all-time great coach in Sean McVay, whom many consider the second-best coach in the league behind Andy Reid. The Stafford example is instructive. He won nothing of significance in Detroit and immediately looked transformed and won a championship with Sean McVay. So, is he coordinator dependent? When Josh Allen struggled with a previous offensive coordinator, who was fired mid-season, and improved with Ken Dorsey and later Joe Brady, do we credit that coaching change for his development? Absolutely. Patrick Mahomes has had the luxury of Andy Reid, arguably the greatest offensive mind ever, for his entire career. Now, some are even suggesting, incorrectly in my view, that the Chiefs' offensive dip is tied to the departure of a coordinator like Eric Bieniemy, implying Mahomes' success is also system-reliant. If that argument holds any water, then it explicitly acknowledges that even the most gifted quarterback relies on his coaching structure. Maybe, just maybe, all quarterbacks are profoundly influenced by the quality of their offensive coaching. Perhaps the notion of a truly system-proof quarterback is a myth. Look at the discourse around Caleb Williams being labeled the next Josh Allen. A ridiculous comparison at this stage. How did Jared Goff look with and without Ben Johnson? The difference is staggering. How has Trevor Lawrence's performance fluctuated with varying coaching quality throughout his young career? The pattern is undeniable. Coaching matters immensely. So, when the Eagles, a team with considerable returning talent on offense, takes a step backward, why is the instantaneous, laser-focused criticism directed at Jalen Hurts with minimal substantive discussion about the coaching infrastructure? Only later, and often as an afterthought, does the conversation reluctantly pivot to scheme and teaching. This inconsistency baffles me. This is where I cannot recommend a resource strongly enough. Go to Kurt Warner's YouTube channel. I was up at 3 a.m. watching his 25-minute breakdown of the Eagles' recent offensive struggles, and it is a masterclass in nuanced analysis. He doesn't just look at interceptions, he meticulously analyzes turnover-worthy plays, the throws that should have been intercepted but weren't. This is crucial because this is what actual coaching entails. No competent coach watches film and says, well, it wasn't picked, so it's fine. They highlight those dangerous decisions and correct them. Kurt Warner, a Hall of Famer, does this publicly, and it's illuminating. You don't need to be a football savant to understand his points. He explains concepts in an accessible way. For instance, he broke down an interception where Devonta Smith fell down. Warner suggested that if Smith's route had been run a yard or two wider before breaking inside, it would have positioned the defender differently, making it much harder to jump the route. He also noted the defender likely anticipated the play because the Eagles' scheme can be predictable. A coaching issue, not a quarterback limitation. On another play, an overtime interception on an RPO, Warner explained that the throw itself was accurate, but the receiver, likely Dallas Goedert, didn't push his route deep enough. This allowed a lurking defender to stay in a passing lane and make a play. If the route is run at the proper depth, that defender is pulled out of position, creating a cleaner throw or forcing a harmless throwaway. These are minute details of execution that are drilled in practice, a direct reflection of coaching quality. This is what separates great coaching from good coaching. It's not just about calling brilliant plays, it's about the relentless, repetitive enforcement of precision in practice. Andy Reid can elevate players like Mecole Hardman or Juju Smith-Schuster because he and his staff demand and ensure everyone is in the exact right spot, at the exact right time, every single rep. Some coaches might say, you need to run that deeper. Great coaches stop practice and make the player run it correctly 10 times in a row until it's muscle memory. This level of detail is the difference between being buttoned up and being sloppy. It's why a head coach like Dan Campbell deserves immense credit, even when he wasn't calling plays. He sets the tone, the standard, and the accountability for that precision. So when I see the Eagles' offense looking disjointed and the entire blame is shouldered by Jalen Hurts, I see a failure to apply this same analytical framework we use for others. If we acknowledge that Baker Mayfield's decline is tied to losing a coordinator like Liam Cohen, why is there no parallel immediate assumption that Hurts's challenges could be tied to the Eagles' constant coordinator carousel and overarching offensive philosophy? I am on record stating that, in my view, Josh Allen is currently the quarterback most resilient to poor coaching due to his unparalleled physical tools. His size and strength allow him to overcome schematic deficiencies more reliably than others. This does not mean he can win a Super Bowl without great coaching. He can't. But he can endure subpar situations better. Jalen Hurts showed that resilience early this season, carrying the offense with magical plays against Dallas and Minnesota. Plays that said nothing about coordinator Kevin Patullo's scheme and everything about Hurts's individual brilliance. However, a quarterback cannot sustainably run on that alone. What we may be seeing now is a hesitation from Hurts to fully unleash that aspect of his game, whether by design to protect him due to a minor injury or a philosophical shift. His situational playmaking, especially using his legs to convert critical third downs or extend plays, not just designed runs, has been a hallmark of his biggest wins, including Super Bowl appearances. We haven't seen that as consistently in regular season games this year. Is that on him, or is it a product of a system that isn't putting him in positions to leverage his full skill set or actively discouraging that risk? The core of my argument is about analytical equity. Watch Kurt Warner's breakdown. Listen to him explain how coaching, route detail, and practice execution create or eliminate opportunities for a quarterback. Then ask yourself, why is the conclusion for some quarterbacks, what do you want him to do? The coaching put him in a bad spot, while for Jalen Hurts, the conclusion is often, he's just not good enough. The disparity in that treatment is what I find intellectually inconsistent and worthy of a deeper, more honest conversation.